they actually announced a Villains Land is coming to Magic Kingdom.
My flabber was gasted, y'all. I was like, what?
You turned into an old Southern woman.
Let me tell you. Okay, let me tell you. First of all,
the hand's going.
before we go into talking about villains, I just want to say this was the longest like panel showcase thing because there were so many musical numbers.
Okay, yeah. I want to say that, a little note to them. No, stop with the musical numbers.
I was like, well, first of all, it was like 12:45. It was like almost 1:00, and I was like, I am tired. I would like to go to sleep. And they had moved on to the cruise line before this villains announcement. So I was like, oh, okay. They must be done with park stuff. I'm just going to go to bed. So I'm like getting ready for bed, and I texted Jared. I was like, are you going to come up to bed? He's like, it's not over yet. I was like, what are you talking about right now? And he's like, hold on. The magic mirror just popped up. I was like, what? So I turned it on, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I'm freaking out. So yeah. But take out the music, guys. No more.
I mean, this whole panel, this whole thing would have been about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Every time they presented a land, there was a musical number.
Yeah.
And then they're like, they also had Deadpool come out, which it wasn't Ryan Reynolds, and it was just weird. I don't know. Personally, I was just it was like kind of Deadpoolish,
it was funny.
But I was like, it's okay. But it didn't lead up to anything. It was just him. Like he wasn't presenting anything. It was just him doing like a thing. But
just reminding you that movie's in theaters,
right?
Probably.
So yeah, they did it. It was kind of disjointed because they did that, and then they did the cruise, and then they did the Fortnite stuff, and then the Fortnite stuff is when they also announced the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run part, and I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. And then they came back to this. And did the whole, it was at the very end of Villains Land.
Wasn't he like ending the show? And then I was
he acted like he was like, it's been a great thing. I thought he was wrapping it up. I think you saw people kind of start getting up, and then you saw the magic mirror pop up, and I was like,
What?
And he said something about like, you forgot a deal we made or something, and he was like,
you forgot the deal we made.
And he said something about like, I don't want to talk about that right now. And then a song broke out, and I was like, are you serious?
Did you a song?
And then they did a song, and then they announced it. So, but. Yeah, so now, again, not much details on this, but a Villains Land is coming. They said 2 main attractions, dining and shopping.
You are breezing right past this. We need to revel in this.
Well, I'm just leading these details, and then we'll talk about it. That's all I'm doing here.
Okay.
2 main attractions, dining and shopping. No specific location. No timeline was given. They did have concept art. So in the concept art, you can look at some things that you can see Maleficent's castle.
You see Maleficent as the dragon in there too.
You do.
You see water.
Now, this one, supposedly Josh D'Amaro said they are already moving dirt on this. Now, I don't know where because they didn't say where this is going. Maybe someone took a shovel on the ground and moved it. So technically they're not lying. That would be funny if they did that.
Okay.
They're like, I need you guys to take shovels and just move. Like, why? I have to tell people we're moving dirt. So I don't know. That's what he said last night, but no definitive timeline. I personally, looking at this, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I will believe this when I see it. In a way. Because
you think they could back out of this?
This is if you look at the concept art, if they can pull that off, that's great. I just look at that and I'm thinking like, that looks really complicated.
It does.
And there's a lot of rock work. Then,
a lot of different,
now
landscape and
on one
terrain.
hand, I say I'll believe it when I see it kind of being burnt a little bit by Epcot and a lot of stuff they announced. Don't forget, by the way, they brought out Dick Van Dyke to present the Mary Poppins attraction a couple years ago, and that didn't happen.
Right.
So just because they make a big hoopla about it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But
Josh said it would.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But they did make a very big deal about saying all this stuff would happen. So if this stuff doesn't happen, it's going to be a really, really bad look.
Right.
But given that, if this gets completed as it looks like in the concept art, I mean, I would think 2030 at the earliest.
Yes. I have so much to say.
Yeah,
I have so much to
yeah.
say. Okay. First of all, I am super duper excited at the potential of this land. Will I get everything that I want out of this land? I mean, probably not. But this is something like many people have been wanting. And the crowd last night was like erupted.
Well,
it was so awesome.
This has been a rumor since like 2005, and the rumor was an entire park villains, which I never thought worked. Same.
I never thought a park full of villains would work. Yeah. But definitely a land would work. I wanted to talk to you. You said talking about 2030 would be like the earliest. If you go back to when they announced like Fantasyland, I think from the time it opened, or it was announced to when it opened, and then I think they were still opening attractions. I think Seven Dwarfs was after that even.
It was.
It was like 6 years.
Yeah.
I want to say, I think from the time like 2008 to like 2014.
It was a long time.
So if we're looking at that right there, and this is, I mean, this is a huge undertaking of this New Villains Land. It's gonna be into 2030. That is our opinion.
Well, and that gets into, okay. So on one hand, you know, I look at this stuff and I think I'll believe it when I see it. A little bit right now, if you're into the Disney stuff, you're a kid at Christmas, has been told 3 years straight you're getting a bike, and you keep getting a scooter, and you're like, I'll believe it when I see it, Dad. So, but on one hand, they have a lot of motivation and pressure to actually do these things given Epic Universe. Right. Now, first off, I just want to say, for everybody that's happy about these announcements, please say thank you to Universal Studios, because you wouldn't be getting any of this stuff if it wasn't for Epic Universe being built. And they can say all they want, that this is not a response to them, and Bob Iger can say, oh, we've known it's coming, and they're responding to us. You don't have this many announcements, and you don't make it super, super clear that this stuff is happening if Epic Universe is not happening. I just want to say that.
I'm sorry, but like if that's something that you don't think that Epic Universe has any influence on this at all, I think that it's time to wake up a little bit, because it definitely does. They're two competing, whether you think they're competing or not, they are in the same theme park headspace in a city.
Well, they're clearly competing,
and they're competitors. And you look at Epic Universe of what they're doing, and then Disney's like, okay, well, we're going to do this stuff, and it's just a back and forth thing. So for the guest experience, it's awesome, because we have all these cool announcements, because they're just trying to one up each other. So awesome. Thank you.
Well, that's what I've been saying.
You know what I mean?
When you have competition, the consumer wins.
Yes.
It forces, people to step up their game and do these things. So I just want to say that first off.
So back to villains.
You should be thankful for it and not look at it as like, ooh, that other gross park. Like, no, they're getting you cool stuff too.
Yeah.
Now, so villains, I had said before, this to me is potentially the biggest home run that they have. Mm-hmm. So this was almost wrapped up last night, and I was literally about to be like, oh man, I'm just gonna, like, I can't believe they did this. They didn't do, like, to me, it was just the most obvious one you could do. So when they finally announced it, I was like, okay, I was getting ready to just start reaming you guys.
Good job, guys.
So this is the one out of anything they announced, I think, that has the most potential, because people, they love the villain stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think also it's interesting. The Dark Universe announcement by Universal Studios for Epic Universe, that had a lot of buzz about it. People really liked the idea of it. So I think it almost proved the concept to Disney too. And maybe I'm not saying that they did it because of that, but that people are into like villains and dark stuff a little bit. So,
I agree. I don't know if it had anything to do with Epic Universe.
I'm not saying it did.
I think villains are just super popular.
I agree, and I think the audiences are in for that. Now, the one thing about this being built now, and again, this is an old idea. So both you have this, Cars, Monsters Inc. This is all stuff like, I almost feel like somebody found old Imagineers notebook and they were like, what ideas did they have? And they were like, oh, look, this, and they're like, oh, let's do those. And again, they were good ideas, but again, they feel
it's been 47 years.
They just feel later than they should be. Now, not saying they're not going to be good. I'm not
complaining.
I'm not going to say, listen, I'm not saying they're not going to be good lands. I'm just saying the timing of them was interesting. So,
but also before you go on, they put a Little Mermaid ride in Fantasyland, like 25 years after the first one.
And I said that earlier. It's not that they haven't done this stuff before. Yeah. So I mean, that is a very good point. And they'll probably do sequels and all this stuff too to make it relevant.
Yeah.
But the one thing about doing villains now, especially given one of the reasons they're doing it, is this is going to be directly compared to Dark Universe.
Unfortunately, it will.
And even though it's going to be different vibes, and Dark Universe is like PG-13-ish.
Yeah.
Villains, it's going to be interesting. Honestly, it is going to be interesting how Disney goes about a villain's land, because I think one of the hiccups that I had always heard, the reason they didn't do it, they didn't know how to approach it to make it family friendly.
Like too scary.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you do villains where it's all scary and gloomy? And if you look at that concept art, that's not oh, this is kind of a scary land. It's supposed to look scary.
Are they going to incorporate? I wonder if they. Obviously, this is just conjecture right now, but like, I wonder if they'll incorporate that Herzog character from Fantasia. That's like the guy on the mountain that's like summoning the demons.
You mean Zeus?
No,
I don't know.
That's so scary. Like that kind of stuff that would freak me out as a kid. But yeah, Maleficent. They have to have Maleficent. They have to have Ursula.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a different challenge here than Universal does because
which villains do they choose?
Right, and how dark do they make it?
It looks very, and I think we mentioned this again on the last episode, like Forbidden Forest looking. Where when like in the Sleeping Beauty, whenever Prince Philip is going to like fight Maleficent,
right?
It's that vibe.
Yeah.
So if I had to guess, this is Maleficent's territory.
I mean, her castle's there.
Yeah.
So. And if you look on there, it looks like you can see a roller coaster as well. And again, who knows?
There's water. Could be a water ride.
There could be a lot of things. And again, it's Disney. The concept art can change. And more than likely, we'll get actual details on this probably like at the next D23. It's probably what they'll do with this.
But where is it going to go, Jared?
Well, that's the question. What is the rumor about this?
The rumor is that basically Tom Sawyer Island and Rivers of America are going bye-bye.
Yeah.
And it's just to make way for these new attractions and lands that are going in. So now, whether that means it's villains or if that means it's cars or a little bit of both, obviously we don't know for sure. But as we said in the last episode, the Tangle bathrooms right behind it, there's a bunch of backstage areas and land back there that they can use. And that land stretches all the way over to, if you go behind the water, all the way over to Big Thunder. And if you're on the train, you can see all of this.
Yeah. So
if you go on the train next time you're at Magic Kingdom and it takes you past Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, you can see all this land out there.
Yeah.
But this also incorporates the Rivers of America area and Tom Sawyer Island, which honestly, in my however many years I've gone to Disney, 40 years I've gone to Disney, I think I've gone on Tom Sawyer Island like 3 times.
I've been a couple of times. I think that probably more than likely is going away. Now,
it's just an underutilized area.
Right. Now, the one that I think is going to get a lot of people upset is I think the rumor anyways is that the riverboat will close down.
Yeah.
Now,
I think it will. That's just that's sad, but it.
Well, if you look at it, more than likely, that's what it would be. I think that one's going to cause. I think people are going to be mad. And I get I don't like seeing this stuff that was part of the original park go away for this new stuff. I feel like there's ways around to do it. We'll have to wait and see. That is the rumor about this, but there's a lot of rumors swirling right now. So obviously they did. So this happens as well. I know Disney, I think they went light on the details because they got so much flack, and in my opinion, rightfully so, for the things that they announced for Epcot and then all the pullbacks on the budget and then what they finished with. So people go, hey, you said all these details. So now they're just going, okay, we're going to give you like minimum details. So when things change, we're not getting a bunch of flack, which I also understand on their end because things do change. Sometimes outside your control or different ideas.
Sure.
But I do feel like when you go really light on details, you're just opening yourself up to all these rumors. So I think
maybe they're okay with that at this point.
Rumors aren't a bad thing if the rumors are, things that won't make people mad potentially. But so as of right now, there's a lot of people worried about Muppets. A lot of people worried about the steamboat, the riverboat out there.